Good morning, everybody. In the absence of a debate with my opponent, I am continuing to answer questions that came in from folks on Facebook. So this morning, I'm going to answer a question from David Ebert in Viola. And he asks, what are the main categories of state revenue and how much do they each bring in? Also, what can be done to shift the burden of state taxation from those who can't afford to pay to those who can afford to pay more? Okay, so for this one, I actually did do a little preparation. Originally, I said I wouldn't do any preparation, but this is one where I did have to dig into some numbers to illustrate it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I've got a little slideshow here, and I'm going to get my timer started so that I stay under 2 minutes. So there are four main sources of revenue for the state of Wisconsin. One is program revenue that comes from things like state fair admissions, federal revenue, things like Medicare and Medicaid, segregated revenue, an example would be the gas tax, and then GPR means general program revenue. And this is the biggest source. This comes from us paying state income tax and sales tax. So that biggest source, if we look at where general program revenue is coming from, over half of it comes from those state income taxes that you and I pay. And then about a third comes from the sales tax, which is 5% across the state. Individual income, that's 17 billion, Dave. Sales tax, that's 11 billion on average each year. Now, if we're trying to answer the question of how do we make the wealthy pay their fair share, currently people in the working and the middle classes pay about 10% of their income every year to state and local government agencies. While the wealthiest people, the top 5%, the top 1%, they pay around 8% each year. And wealthy in this case is defined as a family who makes more than 200 grand a year. So if you're looking for more of a progressive tax system or a proportional tax system where the wealthier either pay more or they pay a similar percent to all of us instead of the regressive tax system that we have today, we can look to our neighbor in Minnesota. They have figured out how to do this. The wealthy there pay a higher percent or about the same percent as the middle class. The sales tax is really not a way to do this because poorer people pay more of their income in sales tax since that's a flat 5% rate, but the income tax changes by percent. And so in Wisconsin today, the income tax is very similar for the working and the middle classes, but in Wisconsin, our wealthy people do not pay much more than the middle class, only about 1%. And in Wisconsin, in Minnesota, they pay 3% more. And that's how you get more of a fair tax system. That's it. I'm going to stop recording, and I really appreciate the question, Dave.